looking forward to sharing this with an audience and being able to talk about it. I'll start with a few questions of my own before passing it off to the audience, so please think of what you might want to ask Simon. But I think I want to start with probably something we all might be wondering about. Uwemar is such an incredible actor, the actor who plays Oscar. What a character and what a performance, and a truly singular performance in cinema that feels unique and authentic. And I would love to hear a bit about his story, how you two met, how the collaboration was working with a non-professional actor in a film that is extremely challenging. A lot of times, working with people who have not acted before, maybe not as much of a script or as many lines, and he had a lot to do. So I'd love to hear a bit about your collaboration and how you brought this character to life together.
Yeah, well, at the beginning, I wanted a professional actor, and we actually spent a lot of time looking for a professional actor. But by some kind of accident, a friend of mine showed me his uncle, who was Weimar, on our profile on Facebook. And he said, because we were looking for professional actors, but also like poets from the universe of poetry in my city, like to make a mixture, to keep this reality of the poetry world in Medellin, in Colombia. So my friend showed me Weimar, and at the beginning I thought, no, this is not, because it was so specific, and I wasn't looking for someone like him. I mean, I was looking for somebody like more serious, more sober, more dark in a way, and Weimar was a bit too much for me for the film. It was kind of like a risk. But we did a test with him, and from that point on, I started realizing that this is the actor of the film. Even though he's not an actor, he has something that people have, like the ability to just be natural in front of a camera. I mean, you gotta make sure that this happens in the casting process, that they have this ability, even if they have not acted before. And he had that, but also he changed my perception of my own character in the script. He changed it, and it's beautiful, because sometimes as a director you think you have everything in your mind, that you control everything, but the idea with this film was also to be very free, to have a lot of freedom to experiment with cinema and the craft, and to play around with the craft of filmmaking, and I took the risk to go with him, even though he was not an actor, and he brought something that we thought it was beautiful for the film. He brought empathy to the character. In the paper, the character is less, it has less empathy, and he brought his physicality. That's him, like the way he speaks, the way he talks, the way he runs, and the way he screams is him. And he went through a process like for 2 months of an actor coach to work on every scene, on each scene, and to become an actor. And it was just amazing. I mean, what he did was huge, because it was also we have very little money to make this film. We have a big script, so we have to shoot very fast as well. And he did a lot. He couldn't, there were things that he couldn't do because he's also so fragile. So he had some doubles, like the stunt that you call here. Like there's a few stunts of him in the film, but it was a huge job for him. Yeah, it's a huge job, and we are very proud of him. He's now in Egypt now, like presenting the film in Egypt, in Cairo, in a festival there. So he's been very now like traveling around with the film, and it's so beautiful to see him around.
I mean, it's such a beautiful collaboration between you and Ubeimar, bringing this character to life. And I mean, the film, it seems like the film really came together around him. And I would love to ask about, when we at the festival were watching this film, I feel like we felt very seen in the world of cinema, seeing the arts represented in this way. and kind of the complicated power structures that exist around becoming an artist, making it, the idea that we have of making it as an artist or not, dreams going unfulfilled. And so I'm curious, as a filmmaker yourself, what drew you to create a film about a poet specifically? What about poetry spoke to you in telling this kind of story?
Well, I came across the poetry world in Colombia around 2015 because I have a partner that was a poet, and she showed me the world of poetry in Colombia, and I thought it was very interesting to see these dreamers, these guys in the streets of Medellin, like dreaming or thinking they were these huge poets, and they were just people in the streets or in the little cafes talking about big poetry, like if they were like this amazing artists. And I didn't know how to do with that at that point, but when I finished my first film, it was during the pandemic, and I had a crisis in cinema, because making films in Colombia is a bit tough. I mean, everywhere in the world is tough, but in Colombia, like, I'm a professor, I live out of being a professor. And I spend a lot of years and time for free making films. And when I finished my first film, it was the pandemic. I have to put it away and wait for the pandemic, and I was a bit, my economic stability was at risk because I was only thinking about cinema, and I devoted myself to cinema for 15 years since I started with this craziness, and I was feeling that I didn't have any stability, I didn't have anything, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just be a professor full time, and that's it. And I started thinking, what kind of professor would I become in 20 years if I give up this nonsense of cinema? And I thought of my own professors, these dreamers, poets in university, alcoholics, a bit like that, and I say, fuck, maybe I will become like that. So to exorcise myself, I decided to make that my second film will be my worst version in 20 years if I fail. So that's when I connected the poets, like, because the poets are more dreamers, more utopian figures, you know, like, and it was not that interesting for me to make a film about a filmmaker, you know, like, I thought, like, maybe a poet, through this poet, I can channel, this is the word, I think, channel all my dilemmas as a person, as an artist, as a man, as everything in my society, what I do, but I wanted to scream about how we make art in a place like Colombia, which is also in everywhere in the world, how we think that we artists are these noble souls that are saving the world, and I just wanted to laugh at myself in a way, like, first to laugh at myself, but laugh at everything, because nowadays, like, everything is so difficult in the world. Like, what about if I laugh about everything? I just scream, like, because I don't know if I'm gonna make a film anymore because it's so difficult, so I'm just gonna say a bit, fuck you to everybody. Just gonna laugh about it, but also laugh about me and the process of making a film in Colombia, in where I live. I live in Medellin, you know, like, so that was the idea with the poet, and but it's a very personal film, so I think all of the things in the film are a reflection of my own journey into being an artist, being a filmmaker. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think despite all of this kind of, like you say, the exercising of your personal demons and the projecting into your own parallel future, the worst version of it, I think despite all of this, there's still a lot of hope in this film, which is something that surprised me and that kind of cuts through some of the cynicism. Part of it, much in part to how much, as you say, the empathy of this character that comes through. And I'm curious as to your personal idea of hope for these dreamers and for the artists and for these kind of cynical art worlds that we are a part of.
Yeah, as much as I was laughing about everything, for me it was important to find hope in my craft, in what I do. It was important for me to find the essence of what I do, of cinema in that case, of art in the case, that even though when you make films, and you spend such a long time in the industry, you risk becoming part of what you criticize. For instance, you become this part of this mechanism of art that becomes like an industry, you know, like or all the dilemmas that I faced. But I wanted to find like what is important for me, especially also with the obsession, because I think artists, we have an obsession, like an obsession with the future. We're always thinking about the future, like I'll be better in the future, I will make a film, I don't care about the present, or and about recognition in a way. And at some point I was thinking that it's important to fail as well, and it's important to think about the present, and not to think about much about if a film is bad, and it's okay. If a writer or a novelist is an average one, it's also okay, because it doesn't mean if you are successful, you're gonna find happiness. I mean, it's nothing to do with that. So I wanted to find this light of my life, to have a easy life, to have mental peace, to enjoy the process, to kill that concept of suffering in art, like many things around that are myself, and I wanted to find hope in myself as a person as well at the end, like in many issues, I guess. Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel like in the process of making this film that you have, in exploring all of this, successfully kind of worked through some of these things for yourself?
Well, the first thing is like I made a film not thinking about too much about the about where if it's going to be successful, if it's going to be a film for that people will play in a festival or anything. I was just thinking about myself and what I really wanted to do with a lot of freedom. And it was very difficult to finance, for instance, because I was trying to make a film that also is try to break the concept of a film made in our societies, in a society like this, like Colombia. Like we are asked always to do the same film. Like we are asked, people, for instance, from Colombia are asked to do the same pieces of art, just to like a product. Art becomes a product, and I wanted to break from that and try to do something very weird and unique. You know, like it's strange in a way. It's very, when we were making the film, it was, this is so weird. What is this film? Like, but in somehow we find a soul there. Like in this being so personal, it also has a soul, and I think this is important when you make in a film, that it has a soul, even if it's ugly, or if it's not if it's not a formula film or whatever. It just has all the soul of the team, or of myself, of everybody involved. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, I think you really succeeded in both breaking the mold and making something that feels very true to these experiences. So thank you. I want to open it up to the audience right over here.
Hi, I wanted to first of all thank you for sharing this movie with us. It's excellent, really very helpful. Thank you. And I was curious about Weimar. Is he a poet? So he's not an actor. Is he a poet in real life? Or
No.
what is
He's a professor in high school.
Oh,
He
okay.
teaches philosophy, actually. He's a philo professor. But he's also like, he likes doing like, he lives in a little town in the north of Medellin, and he's very active in the cultural community. Like he runs a festival of poetry. He ran a festival of poetry for a long time. He also have a heavy metal rock band. And he loves rock music, like metal, hardcore music, rock, and he's very different. I mean, when you see him, he's very different. He's very happy. He's more happy, joyful, and he has a family. He has 3 children. It's very different. But he also likes drinking a bit. And he's a bit bohemian, kind of a Bukowskian figure in a way. But yeah, he's not. But he's not Oscar. Yeah. So he's just a professor that loves arts, loves poetry, and he loves music, and he loves the community and doing things for the community, things like that. Yeah.
Right over here.
You mentioned in a previous answer that you had this period where you're really devoted to cinema. I want to know, who is your Jose Asuncion Silva?
Who is mine? Well, I have a lot. Uh, I know I have a lot. The idea of this Jose Asuncion Silva came from when I was reading about Jim Jarmusch when he was writing Broken Flowers. He had a picture of Janus Touch on the wall, a French filmmaker, and that they were always looking at each other when he was writing. Jim Jarmusch was writing Broken Flowers, and I thought it was interesting to start putting pictures of directors that I like, and I put Kiarostami, Chantal Ackerman, mainly these two when I was writing things. So when I start writing The Poet, I came across Jose Asuncion Silva, I put a picture of Jose Asuncion Silva on the wall as well. So I was writing the script, and I was having the exact same picture of him looking at me, like. So yeah, it was like it all started with Jim Jarmusch, I guess, because I liked Jim Jarmusch when I was very young, when I started with cinema. I don't know, but so many filmmakers, I guess. Yeah.
Right over here.
Yeah, you said before that you feel that Colombian filmmakers are asked to do the same film
Yeah.
over and over. So could you tell a little bit about what is the film that you think that Colombians are expected to see or do, and in what ways you feel that this is something else?
I don't know, it's just like Colombia is a society where we are always looking up to the first world, like here or Europe, you know? Like and most of the films we made are financed not by us. So it creates like a vicious circle. So it's so it becomes like something that is not what we want to make sometimes, but what they want to see, you know? And it happens with art a lot. Not only in Colombia, but in Latin America, in Asia, in many countries like Colombia. So sometimes we sacrifice what we truly want, our freedom, you know, through in the process of art, and let's say, in culture in general. I mean, we are a society that always look up to something that not necessarily are what we truly are in a way. It doesn't mean that you can. I mean, in cinema, you can do a film about everything, you know. But when we were financing this film, when we pitched this film for financiers, they were always asking us, like, where is Colombia here? Because it's a film about a poet. Like it looks like a film from New York or from, I don't know, Argentina or Paris, and where is Colombia? And of course, you know some Colombian films, if you have seen some Colombian films. And even myself as well, I make Colombian films that we tackle things that it becomes like a box, you know. Like sometimes it's difficult for us to break free from that, because that's what is expected from us to do. I don't know if it's clear what I'm saying.
I guess it's one of the themes of the film as well.
Yeah, it is.
Literally
It's like a meta relato. What do you say? Yeah, it's like your lady, of course. And I wanted to, through this film, talk about that as well, of course. Yeah.
Right over here.
I kind of wanted to ask about the editing. I noticed there's very few shots kind of showing longer passages of time. Like it almost feels like a movie that's edited like it all took place in a day or two.
Yeah.
So I kind of just wanted to ask about how you approach that editing process.
Yeah, we knew from the beginning, from the writing of the script, when talking with because the producers of the film is myself, the DOP is producer, and myself. We are the producers of the film. So we always, as I'm writing, we always talking, and we start knowing the concept of the film. The main concept was to do something completely different from what we've done before in terms of stylistic concepts, in terms of like art cinema. We wanted to break free from like the idea of like we wanted to be even a more classical film. Like in a way, the storytelling is quite classical in a way. Like but we wanted to do something that was weird for films made, like in Colombia, for instance, this kind of film that fast-paced and with classical storytelling are even more weird in the art house in the panorama, you know. So of course we started looking at this concept that is not new in a way, but is new in how we approach it here in a Colombian film, and we started thinking about maybe Casavetes or the Dogma 95, things like that. And we knew we would move the camera like that. We didn't have much film stock because this was shot in 16 mil, and we have very little stock. So we wanted to look like ugly and rough, and like the camera wasn't by chance catching the faces. But since we had so little stock, it was not an accident. It was very precise. Like we had to move the camera like that, and in order to have that feeling, but to know what to do. So there's a lot of work during the shooting to achieve that, and then in the editing, we just go more radical in that sense. We wanted to go radical, and we start playing around like kids. Like, what about if we cut this line and like that? And the music wasn't supposed to be like that, but what if we cut the music like this? And like, we start playing, and we were happy. Like, it's funny because the film starts from frustration about cinema, and then we were like kids reconnecting with the essence of cinema in a way, like playing around, trying to put a lot of music and everything, trying to put slates, like the intertitles and everything. Like we don't care. Like we're gonna play around. We didn't restore the 16 mil image. You know, when you shoot on film, you got this ugliness in the sides, on the borders. And we just keep it like, because that's the concept as well, like this roughness or ugliness of the camera and the world of this world. So it kind of like everything was sometimes my English is, everything came together in this concept.
Yeah. The roughness of the edge, I was also going to ask about that. So.
Yeah, and it was also, my DOP also just told me like 2 weeks ago that actually the first AC, the focus puller, didn't clean properly, because this is the first film where my DOP shot on 16 mil, and he wasn't aware that the AC, the assistant camera, had to clean more the board, the gate of the camera. So it was even more dirty than it usually is. But we didn't fix it. Like we thought it was part of the concept of the film.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time in the theater, but we can keep the conversation going in the hallway a little bit. But I want to thank you for your amazing questions, and thank you, Simon, for talking with us about the film.
Thanks a lot.